How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL live stream. I am super tired after a very hectic week. Uh, just work and IRL stuff, and haven't been able to shave, as you can see. So the beard's growing quite long. So yeah, hopefully the wild card can be very successful and ease my mind because gotta get it right. Gotta get it right because we got the bench boost to follow in game week 36, which is the massive double game week that we've all been waiting for. And hopefully we can get a lot of points from that. We've kind of slipped down a little bit. We took a minus 12 last week that I can show you how much points we actually made off that, which is interesting because not many minus 12s pay off, but this one definitely did. So we'll go through that. And my thinking behind it, it would have been so much better had Sterling been 2 yards close to the ball on basically every single one of Jesus' goals, because he would have been in that position to score. So, very, very interesting game. And we're on the wild card today, so we're going to be going through all our tables and stuff, and I'm probably going to spend probably the last 20 minutes or so probably messing around with wild cards. And as per usual, any questions that anyone has about lineups and that sort of stuff, we will take answers to. And yeah, hopefully we can get the wild card right. And before we do that, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout, because we're going to be using some of their tables today, as we normally do, and they're fantastic and have been a partner with us for the entire season. So let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout before we get started. So if you haven't heard about Fantasy Football Scout, they do have a members area, which voice cracked a little bit there, a members area where you can go and check all these different stats and create your own tables, which I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them today. Ones that we normally use to check out a bunch of different things, as well as other different things. They have the season ticker, which shows you like how good the fixtures are, at least based on their ratings. You can adjust it as well. There's heat maps, all sorts of stuff. So make sure to check it out in the Fantasy Football Scout members area. It's fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. The link is in the About section here on Twitch, or if you're watching this VOD over on YouTube later, we always have it in every video description. So make sure to check it out. They will also have a preseason offer, which is 20% off. So if you wanted to wait until next season, you get the same content no matter what, if you get the discount or not. So make sure to check it out. It's fantastic, and it's definitely going to help elevate your FPL game. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Also, thank you, Burmy Jake, for following while we were offline. So, we didn't do a preview stream. We were going to do one on the Thursday, so we can quickly run through. I'm going to put my team back up that we had. So we got 72 points, but with the minus 12, it was just the 60. So we had a slight decrease in rank from around, I think it was around 50, just outside the top 5k or so, to just outside the top 6k. So not that big of a fall, but we did do some crazy transfers. So we did. We can go through the points gain really quickly after we run through the team. But we had Mendy in goal, who got us 8 points over the double, which was quite nice. Reece James over Alonso was our pick, and that didn't pay off because Alonso got an absolutely mega hole or goal in both games. So not ideal. But Reece James just 2 points. We got Robertson 15 points. I was very happy about that. Cancelo with just the 1, Smith Rowe with 2 points. Sterling was one of our transfers, talking about him in a bit, with 2 points. Havertz was one of our transfers. He was the captain. Kulusevski and Madison again, blanks with Kulusevski in the clean sheet point. Ronaldo, who we brought in, got us 16 points, very, very massive there. And Wout Weghorst getting us 5 points. So the only increase in points we could have got would have been Dennis for one of the midfielders and Ben White for Cancelo, but we were always going to play Cancelo. Good morning, Mana. How's it going? So our transfers were, we took out Reece James, or we took out Antonio Rudiger for Reece James. So that was plus 1 point. So we'll put the let me bring up a notepad and I can show you kind of the breakdown. It's pretty straightforward. Where's the notepad? Notepad. There we go. So we took out Antonio Rudiger to Reece James, which netted us +1 point because Rudiger ended up getting booked and only playing just the one game, as did Reece James, but Reece James didn't get booked. So we got 1 point on that because Reece James is 2 versus Antonio Rudiger's 1. Next, we got rid of Bruno Fernandes, who I think ended up with 2 points. Let me just double check that because he had an awful first game and then ended up getting some points in the second one. Yeah, he ended up with 2. No, just the 1 point overall. So Sterling, we ended up with +1 point on that. Could have ended up with much more had Sterling been, like I said, he was in and around all the positions all the time. It was just a matter of, you know, putting the ball in the net, and he was so close to doing so. Then we got rid of Salah, who would have been our captain. Salah would have got us 12 points because he had an assist and 3 points. Double that is 12. Havertz got us 16. So Havertz, who is our captain, got us +4 points up on that deal. And then Ronaldo over Che Adams, which this is the big kicker here. So Che Adams would have got us 2 points. Ronaldo got us 16. So that is a net gain of +14. So if you add all of these up, 14 plus 4 is 18, plus 1 is 19, plus 1 is 20. So the total is +20. But if you take off the 12 points that we took for the hit, it ended up being +8. So we netted 8 points on the gain. Pretty straightforward math. Not really. It took me a few times to actually calculate it, but yeah, that's kind of how it worked out. But this was the main. These two were the kickers. Havertz could have potentially had more as well, especially in the United game. And then going Alonso over Reece James. So let's say if Havertz had scored, it would have been +9. And then you're looking at, instead of Reece James, if we're going Alonso. Alonso would have ended up on 2 plus 6 is 8 plus 15 is 23 plus another bonus point was 24. So he would have ended up on like +23. So then you're looking at 23, 24, 38, 47 minus 12 is, instead of +8, we're looking at +35. So we'd be looking at a crazy gain if I had gone just Alonso over Reece James. But I was favoring Reece James just because of how well he'd done for me. So. But hey, it is what it is. He was literally in training on the Friday and just didn't play. So, a bit unlucky, but should have potentially gone with Alonso. And then Sterling was in and around it like Jesus. I never considered him anyway, so but that would have mega points as well. But we digress. But yeah, that's how the team did. So let's go back to the current team, which is we're on a wild card. So some of these players obviously not going to be in the team. I've just been gathering price changes and that sort of stuff. So we have been doing that. Let's take a look at some of the tables right away, because I'm going to do the captaincy kind of notepad here as well. Because if anyone has questions about that, I'll do my top 5 picks for that. We'll get that underway. So Mano's got a team of Jose Sa in goal, Cancelo, Trent, Alonso, and Cody. With Salah captain, Son, Kulusevski, and Saka. Broja and Jimenez. He's got Dubravka, Tony, Dewsbury Hall, and Ben White. One free transfer in the bench boost next week. Don't know what to do. Have 2.2 in the bank. So let me check. Who are the fixtures this week? I just have them off to the side here. So Southampton are at home to Palace. So I think maybe Broja plays in that one. Um, 2.2 in the bank. Because I'm trying to think of 2 transfers that you can do for a nice bench boost. Because I'm just going to go to here. Who are the bench boosts? Like, so Wolves have a terrible bench boost. Man City and Chelsea. So that's not ideal. You could bench, technically you could use Jimenez because he's a double game week player. As could, you use it for, so like your Wolves players aren't a terrible, set of picks. Dewsbury Hall and White have doubles as well. Brentford. Brentford have the single versus Southampton at home. Who do they have afterwards? Everton and Leeds. So you kind of don't want to get rid of Ivan Toney either. Me personally, so you have 2.2 million in the bank. Let me see. I just want to see what that team looks like up on the screen. So we got Jose Sa. Let me go back to, it'd be in 36 so I can see all the fixtures. So you have Jose Sa. You've got Cancelo. So you've got Alexander-Arnold. You've got Alonso. You've got Ben White, and you've got Cody. You've got Saka, Salah, Son, Kulusevski, and Dewsbury Hall. You've got Tony, Jimenez, Broya, the points dodger. That's James from Planet Happy, I would say. And then who's your other goalkeeper? Dubravka. So if you have you basically have 2 free transfers over the next couple of weeks. I think personally Tony's not bad as a single game week player if you're bench boosting. At home to Southampton, they've been playing well. I think that's probably fine. And you have 2.2 in the bank. So it's quite a lot of money actually. So I have an extra, what's that, 1.6 instead of this. So I can go 1.6 in the hole with this money here, potentially. So first things first is I would change out Dubravka for somebody. Because Man City away just ain't it. Yeah, Saw versus Chelsea and Man City, it's not great, but it is technically a double. I mean, if Saw gets you 2 points, you're probably laughing. Because I don't think he's going to get you 2 points. But who knows? Chelsea might just be on the beach and nick a draw. Also, it is one thing to note that is going to be the game that they probably play their stronger team. And the Leeds game is probably where they will rotate. The Man City game might see a little bit of changes. But again, Man City still need to win this game here. So, who does, so Salah's good for this week. Foster and Richarlison or Watkins. I mean, that's probably what you'd have to do. So Dubravka to Foster would get you so we just gained 0.4, so we have 2.6 in the bank. So this would be 8.1. So yeah, you would most likely get Watkins. I'm gonna have an extra 0.6 million in the bank. And then if you wanted to take the extra hit to get the extra fixture, if you wanted to do that, you can either get you can go Tony to Pookie, or you can get rid of Cody for somebody else. Maybe I don't know who that's gonna be, but maybe a Villa defender of some kind. I don't know if you can get Matty Cash, but that would be the other option. And then your bench boost, because I think Saw would probably be your worst goalkeeper. He would be on the bench. Tony would be on the bench. Normally you wouldn't play Dewsbury Hall. But he's got the better fixture. So yeah, your bench boost would be Saw and Cody versus Chelsea and Man City. It's not going to get you much, to be honest, I don't think. Ben White, not expecting much there, and Tony. Yeah, Cody, and then Cody for cash. I don't know if you can swing that move. I think it's close, but you would only know the exact amount of money. For that, for the extra -4. I mean, you could do that -4. This week if you wanted to. If you wanted to catch the Norwich fixture. But it's probably just to be honest, it's probably just better waiting and going into next week with 2 free transfers, because there could be a whole bunch of other things that crop up to your team as well. Because you could be doing these transfers and then, you know, things could happen. Foster could be injured or something, and you might have to go Schmeichel instead, which is probably the better goalkeeper. But yeah, something like that would be fine. Like the main team is pretty much fine. Like Jimenez isn't obviously great, but Jimenez versus Chelsea and Man City, is that better than probably Nketiah and players like that? Maybe. So, but yeah, that's what I would do. Something like that. So just reset the team here for my own one. So yeah, we've just been catching price changes on the team here. And we got our transfer page ready and available. So let's take a look at all the tables first so we can gather some information, and we'll do the captaincy table last, and then we'll probably spend the last 20 minutes or so messing around and tinkering. So, captaincy against 3 worst teams right now: Southampton, Watford, Man United. Defensively over the last four matches. Southampton, Watford, Man United, they play Crystal Palace, Burnley, and Brentford respectively. Teams that bench boosters are probably not looking at, but again could do well. Next one is Norwich, who play Villa, so again could potentially be good there. Wolves have been a bit shaky recently, so maybe the prospects of Brighton isn't that great. Best attacks though, or best defenses down the bottom: Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, and Man City. So Liverpool versus Newcastle could be an interesting one. It's also the early kickoff as well. Do people have the balls, as it were, to go against Southampton versus Newcastle away? I think it's going to be a tricky fixture for Liverpool. I think they're going to find it a bit difficult with Bruno Gimenez in midfield. They've really shored things up. And he's just been scoring goals and doing everything. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that one plays out. Because Liverpool have been firing on all cylinders. Yeah, defensively Newcastle's been fantastic. So very, very interesting to see how that one plays out. Who am I planning to captain? We'll get to that in just a bit, because I'm gonna make a table of all the best captaincy choices, I think. In just a second. Now moving on to the attacks. So Chelsea is actually top for expected Goals, I'm going to sort this by expected non-penalty. Chelsea still top. Then you got City, then Arsenal, and Liverpool. Pretty much expected, although Liverpool have dropped off a bit, which does bode better for Newcastle's chances. Newcastle's still in the top half for attack. Spurs is still up there, although they've dropped off a little bit. The teams that just don't look, threatening at all: Man United, Leicester, Wolves. Excuse me. So Leicester, Spurs clean sheet proposition could be involved there. Leeds attacking wise are still decent, so potentially City might not keep the clean sheet, although I did go for a 3-0 there. So for the game that's probably going to have the most, probably the most goals, I would say, if I had to guess, is the teams that have the worst defenses and really good attacks. So Spurs' attack is still pretty good. Leicester's attack is not. And Leicester's defense is pretty bad. So I would probably say the Spurs game probably has the most potential upside in it. West Ham's defense hasn't been looking great. Arsenal's hasn't been looking great either. But Arsenal's attack's up at the very top, and West Ham's is decent, so that one could provide some goals. I predicted a 1-1 in that. But I think the Spurs game is probably the one to go for. Although I think Newcastle's attack could cause them to concede some goals versus Liverpool. So it is a bit of a coin toss. This is very interesting. Do you back the early kickoff or not? Salah's going to be over 100%, almost certainly. Because I think managers are getting rid of Son and Kane. And I'm not fully convinced that's a good idea. As to which one I want to keep, I don't know. I'm almost certainly going to have Kulusevski on the wildcard, plus one of the other. So we'll go through those changes today. Chelsea play Everton, so they could easily smash Everton, but who's going to play? Don't know. I was as captain on Cancelo. Yep, he's an option. We'll put him. He's in the table, so we'll get to him in just a second. And the rest of them. Goals in the table. So we got Watkins, Tony, as was in Mano's team, so he could be involved. Antonio Rudiger, weirdly enough, just because he takes pop shots from everywhere. Jay Rodriguez, Mbomo, Mopé, Mateta. These are players we're not really going to look at. Mahrez, if he plays, so Mahrez can have a really good game. If Mahrez is kind of just out of the Champions League team, then he could easily play in this Leeds game. Madison, Harry Kane could be someone. Excuse me, that was a long yawn there. That could easily refine his form versus Leicester, a team that he has scored the most goals against as well. Another key stat. His former club before he went to Spurs. And then a bunch of other players that we're not really too interested in. Eriksen has been really good though. And Antonio, who's really fallen off a cliff this season. Started off like a house on fire. And then really fell off. Really fell off. So, penalty box threat. So we've ordered these in both the captaincy table as well, as you can see here. So in terms of penalty box threat, XG non-penalty, top is actually Diogo Jota, then it's Cristiano Ronaldo, then it's Son, Saka, and Salah to round out the top 5, with Watkins, Kane, Mane, Foden, De Bruyne, Robertson, Coutinho, Kulusevski, João Cancelo, and Trent down the bottom. Also shows minutes played as well, and you can see Jota's played much less minutes than most. Same with Mane, funnily enough, whereas Salah has played quite a lot. Kane has obviously played every game that he can play. But in terms of penalty area touches, so this is kind of an important stat here in comparison to their shots inside the 6, shots inside the box, and the big chances. We sort it by penalty area touches. Salah's getting the most. He's got 9 shots inside the box with 2 big chances, but none inside the 6-yard box. Saka, 31 touches, 12 shots inside the box. Saka's doing quite well. Whereas Kane's penalty area touches has gone off. to only 18. He's still getting a similar number of shots inside the box as Salah, though. 7 to Salah's 9, but not really any big chances. But he's still creating chances, too. So the data doesn't bode well for Kane. It still shows that Salah is still a threat in the penalty area. Still very much a threat in the penalty area. Although the last couple of games he's been a bit wider. So also Salah not only getting just the assist to Robertson's one goal was a. I mean, it's weird because Salah's 6 points versus Robertson's 15 equaled each other out, which is really weird based on ownership. What to do with Havertz? I see a lot of Chelsea forums saying that he's gonna not play in the Everton game. I mean, Tuchel talked about him and Werner particularly, so I would expect both of those two to drop out. They'll probably play the Wolves game and then be rested for the Leeds game, and then he will pick his team for the FA Cup final. So I think there's going to be a bit of rotation there. I would move him on for the likes of a Coutinho, who's got a double next week. You know he's going to play both games. One's versus Burnley, one's versus Liverpool. He plays Norwich this week. I think Coutinho is probably your best bet there on a one-off transfer. Now the main table. This is expected goal involvement. I'm going to sort it by. Expected goal involvement's fine. So actually at the top is Saka, who's been really, really involved, but also that includes his penalty. Salah has been, if you take off Saka's penalty, he would only be around like 2-ish. But even still, he's there. Salah much more involved in the assists, even though he's created less chances, but he's created 4 big chances, Saka's 2. So Saka just needs players to get on the end of it. So Salah's data is still showing that he is the guy, basically. Newcastle have been really, really good at home. So it is a bit of a toss-up. I still think that Leicester are there to be had. Newcastle are the team on the up and could potentially be the spoiler. They've been playing extremely well at home. Like if we look at their recent run of fixtures, so let's take. I know Wilson hasn't played, but he's the first Newcastle player that came to mind. If we look at, actually we'll do Bruno Guimaraes because we'll be able to see like the games he's played. Bruno Guimaraes. So he's come in. The games that he started, or most of them, are from the second game of the double in 28 onwards, right? So, their home game, they won 2-1 versus Brighton. He came on as a sub. Their next home game was in Game Week 32 versus Wolves. They won 1-0. Their next game versus Leicester, they won 2-1. And their game versus Palace, they won 1-0. So they've literally won every game at home since Bruno Guimaraes. They also beat Everton when he came on he came on for 1 minute, but Aston Villa at home, they won 1-0 as well. So Newcastle are very, very difficult to beat at home. They literally haven't lost since Game Week 24, since Bruno Guimaraes has been available. They've won every game, actually. They beat Palace, they beat Leicester, they beat Wolves, they beat Brighton, they beat Aston Villa, they beat Everton. They've literally beaten everyone. Now, are any of those teams any good? Leicester's decent, Palace is decent, Wolves is decent. Their away games, they got tonked by Spurs, which could, potentially be a different story if it was maybe at home, but narrow loss to Chelsea, beat Southampton, beat Brentford. So Newcastle are in very good form right now. Do you think Saka will play? Yeah, he's going to play, I think. Mainly because Arteta was asked who's going to take the next penalty. And he said, oh yeah, if we get one on Sunday or Saturday, whenever Arsenal plays Sunday. If we get one on Sunday, Saka will take it. So that would suggest that Saka's going to play. He was in training for the last few days as well, so he's fine. Probably just a slight problem. Nothing too major. Leto Bab 84. Thank you for the follow as well. So yeah, Newcastle have been doing really, really well. If we look at Liverpool away from home, they've played Man City 2-2, Arsenal 2-0, Brighton 2-0, Burnley 1-0, Palace 3-1, Chelsea 2-2. Not crazy scores. They haven't been like knocking it out of the park. So they aren't getting like the 6-0 versus Leeds, the 3-1 over Norwich, 2-0 comfortable over Watford, could have been potentially more, 4-0 over United, 2-0 over Everton. Havertz Saka seems the move for me. Gives me 1.3 million in the bank for Sam Greenwood to Dennis. Yeah, I mean that's true. It's definitely possible. You probably, if you can get it, if you have 0.2 million more, you can get a Pookie. But yeah, Saka would be ideal, I think. Got the double game week as well. Good enough fixture versus a weak West Ham team this week, so potentially you could go there. Saka's going to be most wildcard teams. Pretty much nailed on. So yeah, the captaincy is a bit iffy. If we take a look at Spurs and their recent form, so they play Leicester at home. A point off Pookie, yeah. Figured. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. Maybe Nketiah. Probably go there. If you don't have him. So their home fixtures, they lost 1-0 to Brighton, which was obviously disappointing. They whacked Newcastle. They did pretty well versus West Ham. They whacked Everton. They lost to Wolves, and then they lost to Southampton. So Spurs are very, very up and down. So I would say they probably have potential to have the higher ceiling. But yeah, it is a bit weird. If we look at Kane's home form, and the last time they played Leicester. So they played Leicester. He got a goal and an assist. That was away from home in 22. Bunch of Kane's had 2 blanks recently. Kind of gone off the boil a little bit. In the last few home games, he's gotten blank. Just an assist in a 5-1, which was really weird. 3 assists in the West Ham game. 2 goals in the Everton game. Nothing and nothing versus Wolves and Southampton. So recently he's done well, but before that not so great. He went on a really like this is the more or less the hot streak, as it were. Rather have Dennis than Pookie. Got Nketiah as a striker. Okay, yep, then fine, that works. And then Son. If we look at Son, last few home games, obviously just the assist point versus Brighton. Goal and assist versus Newcastle. 2 goals versus West Ham. A goal versus Everton. And then a goal versus Southampton. So he's been doing really, really well. Again, no points in the last couple, but yeah. So yeah, Spurs are a bit weird, but if you look at Salah as well, I have Salah on my team, right? Salah recently hasn't been great. I mean, apart from the Man United game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, last 6 games he's gotten 2 assists and a goal, which isn't anything too crazy. But they have played Man City and Arsenal in those fixtures. So last time they played Newcastle was when they weren't great. Salah did score. So, but I don't know. I have a feeling about Spurs for some reason. I think they're going to turn around. Also, yeah, no Trent in the team currently. It's just because I was chasing price rises. That's all. So in terms of captaincy this week, I think it's close personally. I think it's very, very close. So Let's bring up the notepad here. For me, I think it's Son or Kane probably. Oh, just over Salah, and that's only because of their opposition. Leicester are going to rotate their team. Spurs are at home. They need to bounce back and get the win. Kane usually destroys or does it really well versus Leicester. Son's home form has been good. There's not really much else to say about that. Even though Spurs had a very bad game, but usually Spurs go from bad game to really good game. Like, it's kind of weird. Then I would say it's Salah. I'm going to check. I'm just going to open up. So who does James have as his best captaincy this week? So he's got Salah as his best captain this week versus Newcastle. Then he's got Coutinho, then De Bruyne, then Ronaldo. Then he's got Kane and Son. Interesting. Then he's got Saka, Sterling, Watkins, I think, and then Cancelo. So he thinks that Liverpool are going to win 2-1, and he thinks that Spurs are going to beat Leicester 2-1. So he doesn't think it's going to be a very... He thinks both games are going to be close, but he likes Salah much more. Much more over that. It looks like his captaincy's also on Salah as well. I'm just looking at the preview on the deadline stream. So let me see if there's any news on Twitter quickly. See a lot of love for Coutinho. Harris to Coutinho. Some people are going Kane. Some people are going Sterling. See another Kane. See a Salah. Yeah, very, very interesting. I think the captaincy is going to be split this week, so it's not going to be like crazy ownership, I don't think. I think the Spurs players will definitely be the differential, but I think Spurs probably just I think Spurs just edge it, to be honest. Then from a Man City point of view, it's a matter of if you can nail the captaincy or not. So I would say probably the Man City player is probably next, whether that's, De Bruyne or Cancelo, Foden. Then I'd probably say like Coutinho. Wouldn't probably, maybe Watkins, but I wouldn't be captaining Watkins, to be honest. And then Ronaldo, if you still have him. Those would be my top 5, I think. I think the Salah, I think it's probably more like this. Like, there's a big gap in between these three. And I think there's only like a smallish gap there. But I think it's close. The stats obviously show that Salah should do the best. I don't think Saka is worth captaining just because West Ham can just be really stubborn. Like they even showed that they could keep Chelsea down to not much, basically, for most of the game. So that's going to be interesting to see how they do that. They don't have any center backs though, but it's weird. West Ham can be really weird. It's like they lose center backs and they get better. It's like, it makes no sense. Sometimes they might play a back 5 as well, which could disrupt Arsenal a little bit. And then if you had both Son and Kane in your team, if I had to choose between the two, it's tough. Kane's expected goal involvement is worse. His penalty area involvement is about the same as Son's as well. Creating slightly more chances. Son's getting more big chances, so probably say Son. Just barely, maybe. But Kane's just I think the comparable. I think if you have, I mean, most teams are probably gonna have either Kane or Son. They probably won't have both at the moment, unless if you're on Wildcard. If you're not on Wildcard, you might still have both. Kane the best captain for you? Yeah, I mean it's definitely possible there as well. You know, Kane versus Leicester is very good. Kane versus Norwich is probably very good as well. Kane versus Burnley is probably very good. In terms of Kane versus Liverpool and Arsenal, Kane probably better versus Arsenal, worse versus Liverpool. If we're looking at players for the rest of the season. So, like, which fixtures are better for Kane? Norwich is better for Kane. Burnley's probably better for Kane. Well, the way that Burnley are playing, maybe Son's better for Kane. Arsenal's probably better for Kane, I would say. And Leicester's probably better for Kane. So the only real one is probably, like, if Leicester come play, then it's Son for sure. But I think both are just as good as one another. Kane's slightly more expensive, but Kane's also in a position where the role isn't as good as well. That's another thing. So, now that we've got that all sorted, let's move this off the screen, and now it's time to go into the tinkering lab. So I've had a couple of drafts that I've been kind of messing around with at the moment. I want to see if I can get Trent Robertson in. I like this backline for sure, which means I have to go with this goalkeeping setup. If I need the extra cash, I can go down to literally cash. Mason Mount, I really like the likes of Coutinho, to be honest. I really want Foden, but might not be able to get there. This spot's going to be Saka. And then it's just a matter of if I wanted Kane, it'd be here. So there's two schools of thought. I think Trent's probably the better pick for the rest of the season because I think he's less likely to get rotated. He's also higher owned as well. Robertson's much less owned. But I think Robertson's been playing super well. The only issue, though, is if I wanted Matip, who would be the player that I would replace him with. I would either have to go Pookie down to Dennis or Alonso to Matty Cash. That would be the sacrifice I'd have to make. If I did go Matty Cash, which would mean I could go Gordon as well, who I think is slightly better prospects than Dewsbury Hall. The only issue that I wouldn't have is I would have no Chelsea, which I think Alonso's been playing so well. I think he plays the Everton game, but does he play the double? Probably not. Whereas Cash probably does. And then they have the double, obviously the really good double. So if I were to plug this team into the transfer planner, so if I had, I'll change this to Wildcard. So instead of this, I had Schmeichel. Actually, I'll change this to Foster because Foster would be the one who would play. Foster would play. And I only have 13 minutes to decide this. Schmeichel. Matty Cash. Matip. Trent, Laporte, Saka, Salah, because I don't have him, but I don't have him in this team, obviously. Uh, Gordon. Who's the other midfielder? Coutinho, right? Coutinho. Kane. Pookie. Ketia. So this says that I have 0.5 million in the bank, but obviously we know that we can do this because we have that exact same team here. So on this transfer planner, we have an extra 0.5 million if we want. So the team I would play this week, Trent would come in for Gordon. Laporte would come in for Pookie. Pookie would probably go to second sub. We would captain Kane probably. If I was going based off my own captaincy picks. So with Matip, it's a bit of an interesting one. So he almost certainly plays the Newcastle game today, which I'm actually going to make sure I have Twitter open. Mark's going Son captain. He's got Son and Kane. Interesting. Very, very interesting. A lot of people going Son or Kane. Very, very interesting. I don't see anything in terms of the Liverpool team at the moment. But if I had to go, my take on basically the whole Matip thing. He plays the Newcastle game. He definitely plays the Spurs at home game. And he almost certainly plays the Southampton and Wolves game. Because the Southampton and Wolves game are games in the league and they're important. With the Southampton game being, if I go to the transfer planner, what was the game? 37. They play on the Tuesday and then the Sunday, so that's plenty of rest for Matip. It's the 36 fixture. When do they play Villa? So they play Villa on the Tuesday. And they play Spurs on Saturday. So that's not the easiest turnaround. But again, Villa's not going to be an easy game. That's the only game that I would be concerned for Matip not playing. But I think he plays every game in the league, assuming he's fit. That would be my only concern. So if I was moving this team forward, Schmeichel would be in for Foster. Nketiah, Pookie, Gordon would be the bench. Salah would be the captain. And I wouldn't have to make any changes. And that would be the bench boost. Then I'd have Kane and Kulusevski versus Burnley. That team's fine. Gordon would have to come in for somebody, probably Laporte. Already captain Coutinho that week. Not sure who my transfer would be this week, so that'd be interesting. I'd have two frees. So I'd have to kind of deliberate on that one. Maybe just basically check for injuries or something. See what happens. And then the final day of the season, I'll make sure I have 2 because I only need to make 1. Cash versus Man City is obviously not ideal, but Laporte comes straight in for him. And Nketiah versus Arsenal is probably fine. And then I would have to take out Coutinho for somebody. Maybe this is where I go for the Man City mid versus Villa at home. So I would go like Cash, Cash down to just like a cheap defender that I know that's going to play like a Ben White or something like that. And then I would have an extra 0.7 to play with, maybe more. Or I just go to a really cheap defender, just like one that's not going to play at all. Like a Ward or something. Or I can't remember his name. Kelly? It's Kelly? Yeah. And then I'd have 1.5 million, so I could go up to like maybe Mars. If he drops down. If I went Son, Son would be instead of Coutinho. And this would be Watkins, but I would have an extra bit of money to play with. And I think I want Villa, to be honest. A Villa player. Alright, let's make the decision. Son or Kane? If I was going to go one. Or do I just go without them at all? Who scores more? Watkins, Son, and Matip. This could also be Alonso as well. Matip, Son, and Watkins. Kane, Coutinho, and Cash. Or Foden, maybe Foden, Robertson, maybe 0.1 off Mendy. Or maybe this is where, you know what? I had a draft with Ederson in it. Instead of Foden, I went Coutinho. Which still allows me to go Alonso if I want to. And I still have 0.7 million to mess around with some stuff. But that means no Spurs. That would mean no Spurs. Nah, my gut's saying Kane. I have a hunch for Kane. And I have a good feeling about Matip. And Alonso's going to have to get sacrificed for Matty Cash. Yeah. I think that's what I'm going to go with. It was up to Kane or Son. It's basically Kane and Coutinho versus Son and Cash, Coutinho, Kane versus Alonso, Son, and Watkins. I think Coutinho beats Watkins. I think Kane, Kane and Son and Coutinho are the same. It's just Cash versus Alonso. I think Alonso has potentially higher upside, but the Villa double looks quite good. So I'm gonna do that. Now let me sort the team out really quick. So Matip's definitely gonna be in for Nketiah for a sub. Kane's gonna get the armband. Yeah, I think that's how it's going to do it. Do I have extra time to mess around with the subs? Of course I do. I got an extra 3 minutes. That is going to be Matt Tip. Then it's going to be Cash. Then it's going to be Laporte. Then it's going to be Cancelo. Salah's going to go there. Saka's going to go there. Coutinho's going to go there. Kulusevski's going to go there. Cool. Done. We did it. We did it. Goalkeeper situation I'm not happy with entirely, but it's a sacrifice you have to pay. I really don't like getting rid of Robertson. That's my only probably concern. And the Man City attacker I could potentially bring in on the last day of the season when I know kind of what potentially can happen and potentially get some early team news. That'd be great. But I think the Villa boys could do well. So let me just take a screenshot of my team. So that is the team there. Less than 1 minute left on the deadline, by the way. Less than 1 minute. Yeah, I don't think Salah's going to be much more effective ownership than 100. He'll be over it for sure, but yeah, Matip is the only I would say is the risk, but I think he definitely plays Newcastle. He doesn't play the Champions League because he's going to play Konate again. He plays versus Spurs. It's this game. This one. Because I think Konate plays the FA Cup final. Because that's what he's been doing. So I think he could probably go Matip, Konate, Matip, Konate in the final of the Champions League, if they were, which they look like they're gonna make it. Or maybe place Matip in the final too. Who knows? But yeah, that's what I've gone with. Deadline is passed. Can't do anything anymore. We're locked in. So, and that's it. Wildcard's locked in. Whoo! Stressful. Very stressful. But yeah, I'm gonna post the predictions over on Twitter. In just a bit. I'm gonna write down how many points we got as well in that same tweet because we didn't do it last week. Was gonna do it on Thursday, but yeah. But yeah, before we sign off, Fantasy Football Scout. Let's talk about them one more time. So you saw we had a bunch of different tables. Fantasy Football Scout provided those with their stats. We just customized them to make them our own way. Yeah, they helped make our decision. Table said that we should have gone with Salah, but again, early kickoff is kind of like a myth. But yeah, I think Spurs have a higher chance of doing really well versus Leicester because Leicester can just get it wrong. And Newcastle have been playing really well, so definitely gonna be interesting. At least I have Salah in my team. If I didn't have, I'd be really worried. But yeah, Newcastle could pose a threat. And apart from the Man United game, Salah hasn't got a crazy amount of points. So whereas Kane, I think they could bounce back. They're at home. Kane destroys Leicester usually. So we'll see. So, yeah, Fantasy Football Scout have provided those tables to help improve your FPL game and elevate it to a whole new level. So make sure to check them out in the description or in the About section if you're watching the live stream over on Twitch. Now, let's move over to the big screen. So, that is the stress of the wild card done. Bench boost going next week with the transfer being rolled unless there's some injury or something crazy that happens. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Make sure to like, favorite, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. PilotFam226 on all the platforms. That was exhausting. To do that wildcard. Really stressful. I forgot how stressful free hits and wildcards can be. But yeah, thank you all for watching. And until the next one, take care.